Hi, my fellow screenwriting enthusiasts. It's Paul from Small Town Movie Critic. Now, if you're new to the channel, we are all about helping you write that kick-ass screenplay by giving you tips, tools, inspiration, and product reviews. Now, in today's video, we're going to be showing you 10 screenwriting apps for 2021. Now, the difference between this video and my video on screenwriting software is that this list is focused for folks who use their phones for their creative process. I'd like to give out a shout out to Kat Everett, who wanted some more details about this topic. So thank you, Kat, for bringing this up, and I hope this answers some of your questions. Now, if anybody else out there has any questions like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer these questions. And as you're looking at the apps, I want you to think about what would work best for your budget, the features that you need, and your personal workflow. Because at the end of the day, as I said in my other video, the most important thing is writing the script. And to help achieve that, you need to be using software or apps that make it easier for you to accomplish your goal. Now, for this video today, I'm going to be breaking the list up into two parts. Now, the first part, we're going to be discussing screenwriting apps, and the second part, we're going to be discussing other apps which will help with the screenwriting process. And I'll post a timestamp here with where you can skip to if you don't want to hear about the screenwriting apps. So one of the interesting things I found out about apps is that generally they don't do a good job of giving you a lot of information about the app in general. It isn't like when I was looking at software where there was a great web page where you could look through all the detailed lists of what the software could do, all of its features, and testimonials and stuff like that. And after viewing web page after web page, it looked like a lot of companies were, yeah, it's a phone app. We want people to use the software, and the phone app was sort of an afterthought. Personally, I think this is a missed opportunity with phones coming down in price and with the amount of people owning some type of smartphone. I think companies should really think about how they are marketing these type of apps. Well, with this being said, it sort of makes sense that many of the complaints I saw about a lot of these screenwriting apps was how the user interface, or also known as a UI, functioned. Now, many times people complained that they had to resize stuff because they couldn't see what was going on. The other complaint I saw often was saving. Some of the apps interact well with the cloud, and other apps require that you use a Dropbox for stuff instead of using the cloud. But if you don't like using the cloud, then you probably don't want to get a screenwriting app, maybe something for the computer instead. So these are just a couple of things to keep in mind as we look at all these screenwriting apps. Is how, and not all of them told me on their web page whether they how they saved the information, whether it was on the phone itself or whether you had to use an iCloud or a Dropbox function. Now, like I did in my previous video, again, you can watch that here. I will list the software from least to most expensive. And I did my best to try the software if it was available for my phone, which I'll warn you, it was just an older Android phone. So sorry, I own a Mac, but I don't own an iPhone. So and it seems like as we go through this, a lot of stuff was developed for the iPhone. Now, the first couple of apps are most people's favorite price, which is free. Now, our first one is Writer's Duet, which is for the iOS only at this particular time, and I will stick their web address up here where you can look at that. So a description from their web page. Writer's Duet is the new standard for screenwriting, a simple and intuitive interface letting you dive into writing instantly on or the go or as you lay in bed and stare at your phone screen. Check out the Dark Edition. That is for you. While you're focused on ease of mobile, we also have restricted you from taking we haven't restricted you from taking advantage of all the power that Writer's Duet has offered on other platforms. So, in the words of the app, go wild. And some of the features that they have are real-time collaboration between users and devices, smart line types and one-touch icons, autosave, card outlier, offline mode. And for some of these things, some of these features, you will have to pay money for some of these features, but it starts off free, and in app you'll be able to buy some of these features as well. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I don't have an iPhone, so I looked at the reviews for the app to get a flavor of how people liked it. Now, on January 1st, 2021, which is when I'm doing this video, it has a rating of 3.1 out of 5 stars with 139 reviews. And as I look at the star rating really closely, it looks like people either gave it a 5 or gave it a 1. So you can sort of see you're either really going to like it or you're really going to hate it. And the main complaint was about the user interface. Now, back in April of 2019, That was where I saw a lot of negative reviews around that. But there has been some updates since then, so hopefully they will have fixed it and they have fixed the problem. I didn't see any recent reviews that talked about the UI as much. Now, even though this app is free, and as I mentioned before, there is a paywall. And from the sounds of it, it sounds like customer service might be behind that paywall as well as some of the other features that we talked about. Because I want to say one of the features I remember from my last video about the software was offline mode. I think you had to pay in order to have offline mode. But, it's a free, take a look at the free edition, give it a look, see if it works good with your workflow. And if it does good enough and you feel like it's a good solution for what you need for screenwriting, drop a subscription and see, or pay whatever their paywall is. I don't know if they have a subscription. I would imagine, I think they have a subscription model. And number 2 is JotPad for the Android and iOS. Now, I actually downloaded this one on my phone, and it has a lot of really nice tutorials, and I think simple syntax ways to help with the formatting. Now, you're probably wondering, what am I jabbering on about simple syntax? Well, simple syntax is for help in creating the format. And so one example of this is when you're doing a dialogue, you simply have to hit the enter key after you write the character's name all in caps, and then it will auto format the dialogue into the correct formats, which I think is pretty neat. So you just would write, if your character's name is Mary, you just write Mary all in caps and hit the enter key, and then whatever else you write again will be formatted automatically for dialogue. So it makes it really easy. It's very easy. It's not very complicated to figure out, which is what I really appreciated, because it's hard enough, as many of you know, just to write your screenplay. You don't need to fight with the program you're using to write the screenplay as well. That makes it doubly frustrating. Now, the free version does have ads, but during my usage, the ads were not distracting at all. They were more down at the bottom of the page. They offer an initial subscription of $14.99 for the whole year when you first download the app. Now, if you refuse this offer and then you want to subscribe some maybe down the road, it's about $29.99 a year. Again, doesn't break the bank for most folks. It seems to be a reasonably priced app. Now, with the subscription, I believe you get some pretty needed features like spell check and a thesaurus. So it also has the ability to sync with multiple different platforms like Dropbox, Google Docs, and Microsoft OneDrive. And speaking of syncing, you can also export your file as a PDF, a Fountain doc, a docx, or a Final Draft version doc. So I think you get pretty good bang for your buck for $14.99 for a whole year. And then probably next year after, you'd have to probably pay $29.99. But I think the nice thing is you can try it out for free. And if you really like it for free, then subscribe. But if you don't worry about it. So, all right, number 3, our next app is Dubscript Screenplay Writer. Again, I'll put that web address up here. Now, it's also free, and believe it or not, it's for the Android. Now, that's going to sort of stop. You're going to see we won't have as many Android apps going forward, but I'm glad we at least got these 2 in here. Now, this one does have ads, and I thought they were a little bit more invasive than Jotterpad. And now you can get rid of the ads for 99 cents a month or $9.99 a year. And here's some of the features from the website. It's got open text format compatible with apps and editors. It has a title page, dual dialogue, and bold, underline, and italics functions. You have character, scene headings, auto suggestions. You have an undo, redo, find, replace, copy, paste, all sorts of keyboard shortcuts in this. And you have a night or a white on black mode. And they're constantly doing more upgrades for this as well, too, which is one of the things I noticed. They were doing lots of upgrades for this. And so they're really sort of supporting this. Now, as much as I like the syntax typing in Jotterpad, I struggled a lot more with Dubscript. Now, the syntax, like creating dialogue, was not as easy, in my opinion, in Dubscript. Now, it's not a bad app by any means. I think I just need a little bit more practice about learning how to type the syntax correctly in order for me to get the formatting down. But being a free app, it's pretty clean, and to be honest, it's really not that hard to use as well either. And for even having the apps in if you can't afford the $9.99 a year for the apps, or I mean to get rid of the ads, it's still a really good deal for what you have. And if you want to just try screenwriting out, give it a try too. It's a free. And if the only thing you have is available is the phone, give it a try, especially if you have an Android. Now, number 4 is the Final Draft, the app, coming in at $9.99. Now, if you like Final Draft at all, which I did from the last video, you're going to really like this app. Again, this is just for iOS, and so, but I wasn't able to download a sample. But looking at the video, which I'll link here as I talk about it a little bit more, you definitely get your money's worth for downloading this app. Don't forget, this is the industry standard for screenplays. Now, here are some of the features. You get great formatting through their templates. You get ease of use through just hitting the tab and enter button to switch between screenwriting elements. You can save to the Dropbox or iCloud. You get a character highlighting function, script notes, script markers, the outline view, and much, much more. Now, this was easier to use than Jotterpad, but I think some of that had to do. It looks easier, I should say, it looks easier to me to use than Jotterpad. But then again, I'm also used to using Final Draft as well, too. Now, it's not as hefty on the features like the full software, but it's definitely one of the best bangs for your buck at $9.99. The number 5 is Scrivener. Now, if in the Final Draft app, I told you how excited I was to get a lot of the features in mobile Final Draft that was also in the desktop version. But sadly, we don't get them all. But believe it or not, Scrivener offers you the whole thing just scaled down to your phone. All the features you know and love in the computer software are now at your fingertips on your phone. It's pretty neat and pretty expensive, but not too bad. The app, Scrivener app, costs $19.99 and is only for iOS at the time of this video. Now, Scrivener has been promising an Android app for 2020, but it's now 2021, and I still don't see one yet. And so I looked on some of the forums as well, too. People were getting a little miffed that they haven't honored their promise of getting that done. So maybe in 2021 we'll see it, but you never know. Now, if you haven't seen all the cool things you can do in Scrivener, again, I'll point you back to my video about my top 9 best screenwriting softwares for 2020. And as a screenwriter, I love just using the note cards, and Scrivener had this great functionality where you can do this on a virtual corkboard. And on mobile, this would be worth every cent, in my opinion. But again, you need to find out what works best for you. Also, for using a software program that works well for you, jump out to the App Store, whether you're using Android or if you're using iOS, and see if they have a mobile version that you can use. A lot of times you can sync between the two. Look at the reviews as well and see how well the port of the software looks on iOS or Android. Again, when I was looking at possibly adding Fade In as one of the software apps to look at, as I was looking at the reviews, a lot of people, it had a really abysmal score, I believe, on the iOS App Store. It was really bad. And the hard part of that too is you don't know how far they've come with that particular app. A lot of people were not. And I think it was just, some of it was just actually recent. I read a review from November that someone was really upset with how Fade In has worked. So again, just look at how, like I said, you might have really loved that software on your computer, but did they do a good job of changing it to an app for your phone? So take a look at the reviews and see what will work. Now, besides screenwriting apps, you can get apps that will help you in creating that kick-ass screenplay. Now, I wanted to highlight a few that might be helpful for you in your writings for this year. Now, the first one is Danger Notes. Do you have trouble with writer's block or just writing in general? This is the app for you. What you do is you set a time on the app and then you begin to write. Now, if you stop writing, the software will begin to count down. If you don't begin again, it will delete all the progress you've made on that timed writing. It sounds a little harsh, but it really gets you into writing. And that's the mindset behind the app, is that the more that you get used to writing, the easier it gets to write. And to be honest, this is what I'm finding out. The more time I spend writing, the easier it is for me to write. So Danger Notes is free, and I believe there's some in-app purchases that you can make, and it is for iOS only. Now, if you're finding value in this content, please like and subscribe. I try to put out content that helps bring value to all my fellow screenwriters. So let me know what you like to see. Now, our second app is Script Builder. Again, it's for iOS users only, and you'll see a pattern in this. Unfortunately, I did try to include as many Android apps, but there wasn't as many that I found on my look through the PlayStation for that. Now, Script Builder was designed to help capture and build your screenplay ideas before you get to the stage of writing them down. Now, Script Builder is free, but it does have in-app purchases. And with the free version, you can structure the story arc with a 3-act structure. It also has act beat questions to help facilitate new ideas and notes to help you build the scenes. Now, for the in-app purchases for 99 cents a piece, you can also get the character as well as the scene builder as well. So if you need help sort of developing an idea, you take that idea to the next level, this might be a helpful app to help keep those ideas flowing. Our third app is Index Card Corkboard Writing. This is an app for the iPad, but also for the iPhone as well. It's fairly inexpensive at $4.99 and it has a ton of features. You knew I was going to have something about index cards. I'm speaking about them all the time and how much I like using them. And this has some wonderful features in this program, or this app, I should say. You can develop multiple separate projects. You can edit card titles, synopsis, body notes, text, color label. You can view in the corkboard, and you can do it in outline or column mode. You can track card, word, and character counts. You can touch and drag cards to reorder stuff, tap a card to open it for editing. I mean, there's just a lot of wonderful features with this product, and you know how much I like using index cards. I just have found them very interesting in my process. So that's why when I saw this app, and that's one of the reasons I actually might buy an iPhone, is because of this app, or maybe get an iPad, because it looks really neat to be able to do. And if you like using index cards and moving stuff around on a corkboard, but you don't have the money for Scrivener or Final Draft, this is a great option, $4.99, and you can do a lot of the same things that you could do on Scrivener or Final Draft and pay a lot less. Number 4 is Contour by Marine Software. In my screenwriting software video for 2021, I touched on some software that was always helpful for me as I was learning to screenwrite. And one of these pieces of software comes as an app for iOS, and it is Contour. And here's a description for the website. Contour is a must-have for every screenwriter. Using a fill-in-the-blanks and intuitive approach, much like a software install wizard, Contour guides you to what elements need to be a part of your story outline, effectively constructing the foundation of your screenplay. Discover a system of breaking down Act 2 that is so ruthlessly easy you will never get stuck on page 55 again. Craft the 4 final beats of Act 3 that readers and audience expect, and that define your script as marketable and professional. Now, as when I was first starting off in screenplay, I found this really helpful, especially as a self-guided screenplay writer, one who hasn't had a degree in screenwriting. And this software is fairly inexpensive, at least on the phone. It's $12.99. It's cheaper than a lot of books on screenplay writing. And so if you're at the beginning of your screenwriting career, or if you just need something to help you with fleshing out a story, I'd give this one a look-see. And to believe it or not, I actually had this on my current Mac until I just got the new operating system, and that caused it so I couldn't use it anymore. But I still had it with me. It was that valuable of a tool, and I've actually kept the software with me back in the day when they actually gave you the disc. So give it a look-see and see if it's something that would be helpful for you. Now, finally, number 5 is an Android app. I know, shocker, but it's called Is Learning Screenplay Film Screenplay. So it's a free app with ads. Now, the ads are not really that distracting. Now, this app answers some of the most basic questions about screenwriting, like what exactly is a script, what makes a good story, how do you add sequences, and what does format look like. Now, if you're new to screenwriting and wanting a free resource that you use for references, this might be something that you might want to pick up. If you're more, if you're not looking for that resource, or if you have books around, or you're more interested in looking at websites or something like that, this isn't anything that you probably are going to need. But I think for really novice screenwriters or very beginners who just want sort of the basics that they can just pull up on their phone and go, okay, so this is what this means, or this is what this format looks like, it's a good free app. And like I said, the ads are at the bottom, and they're not too intrusive at all. So these are just 10 apps that I thought might be helpful for those of you who use phones to do your writing. So if you find any more or want a deeper dive into one, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Now, as always, keep writing, and I will see you in the next video.